Welcome back to Kadence Amplify. If you're just joining us, our sessions today are designed to build your learning, solidify your knowledge, and help you grow. We have some amazing speakers who are going to give some great tips, advice, and information. All of our sessions are being recorded, so you'll have a chance not only to rewatch the ones you see today, but also to watch sessions in the other track or that you couldn't get to live today. You'll be able to see those on the Kadence YouTube channel in the coming weeks. You also have opportunities to ask questions in the chat, and I'll bring them up during the Q&A after each speaker finishes their presentation. So let's get going. Our next speaker is Melissa Love with Accelerate Your Client Builds with Semi-Custom Templates Using Kadence. Melissa is a website designer and product developer for creative businesses and entrepreneurs. She's the founder of a Kadence theme company, Style Cloud, which makes excellent design accessible to all WordPress users. And she's a WordPress nerd who has taught thousands of business owners how to build their own beautiful websites. Through her online membership, The Marketing Fix, she and her team coach members through building ethical sales funnels. She lives in Spain with her family, where she spends her spare time swimming, eating, and exploring. Welcome, Melissa. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so happy to be here. And I was just saying in the chat, it's so nice to meet you. One of my ambitions is to have my picture taken with you at a WordCamp. So,
oh, I would love that. Michelle and me selfie. I'm sure we'll have an opportunity at some point to do that. Well, it's so nice to meet you virtually today as well. And I'm excited to hear your session. As I said, I'll bring all those questions that people have over to you. I'll take a few notes and have a few questions myself, I'm sure, as we get going. But I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor over to you and bring your screen up for you.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so I was here a year ago at Amplify, which was fantastic. And I talked a little bit about setting up your own cloud, because we had just launched Style Cloud, which is kind of a cloud full of layouts and everything. And I was pretty enthusiastic about that at the time. I still am, of course. But after that session, I got so many questions and requests, and people got in touch to say, what was that tool you mentioned? Or how do you handle that part of the client onboarding process? And so I've come back this year to really lay that bare and kind of dive really deeply into our client process. Because over the last kind of many years, really, I've been a web designer and then grown into kind of managing a small agency. We have perfected managing the client process. And what I'm going to do today is share all of our tools, plus show you how Kadence fits into that and having a cloud, so that you can speed up your builds and make more money. So, but yeah, and also I just want to thank Jamie for a great presentation before. It's quite a hard act to follow, but I'm going to try. Please don't worry. I'm going to mention quite a few tools. I have got this. I'll give you a link at the end to just grab this presentation, so you don't need to remember anything or take notes. Okay, so a little bit about me. I am a completely self-taught WordPress user and web designer. I started when you had to download WordPress and configure a database. There was no one-click install on hosting companies. So I am a kind of fully paid up self-taught nerd, about 15 years into using WordPress. And over the years, I have worked with all of the major platforms, Divi, Elementor. I was one of the first, my other brand, The Design Space, was the very first company to ever sell like a third-party product for Divi. So I've kind of been through kind of running an agency to creating digital products. And now I'm all in on block themes and Kadence, which you might know already. I also have a couple of side things. So a couple of plugins, SitePresser, which helps people package up themes for sale. And I have, as Michelle mentioned in the intro, I coach quite a lot of web designers. So I'm going to try and bring all of that knowledge together for you today and share it. Absolutely no gatekeeping. I share everything. So let's get into it. And let me just make sure my little mousey thing is working. There we go. So this session is specifically for you if you're not making enough money, because you always over-deliver when you're doing client work. And also, spoiler alert, I've done this so many times, it's ridiculous, not charging when there is scope creep, because you're a really nice person. So if that's you, you're in the right place. Maybe your projects drag on because you feel like you have to create everything from scratch when you're building a custom site. To not do that feels like cheating. And then, of course, you're not turning over projects quickly enough and you're not earning as much money. And the third one is, and this was a massive stumbling block for me, I know, you can't bring yourself to outsource anything because all of your work's custom, and actually you don't believe anyone could reach your super high standards. So I'm going to try and share with you how I broke that mindset and moved into being able to outsource things I didn't want to do or that weren't my specialist subjects, so that I could move on, turn projects over more quickly and earn more money. So if that sounds good, stick around. That's what we're going to be covering. And there will be plenty of time for questions at the end. So I want to talk about money and time because I started my business a little bit by accident. I was actually doing something completely different, which I built a website for. I owned a magazine, one of those little free community magazines, and all of my advertisers said, "Oh, I love your website. Could you build one for me?" And I was charging the princely sum of £495 for those websites. I thought I'd hit the big time because previously I was selling ad space for like £30 a go. So that seemed crazy big money. And I was soon inundated, and I was soon juggling many, many projects of very low value. And I kind of hit breaking point. You know, I had 2 kids under 5. I was staying up till 4 in the morning, and I realized something had to give. That was the first time when I thought, hang on, just kind of trading time for money is not working for me. At that point, I decided I needed to charge more. And as luck would have it, a friend asked me to work on her website, and she'd paid someone $5,000 and she wasn't very happy with it, and she recommended me to someone else and told them I charged £2,000, which was like obviously insane money. So I did move into a more profitable pricing band. I niched down. I still am in that niche, which is photographers and photography websites. So that's a whole separate conversation, which I'm happy to have another time. But if you can niche, do. But even then, these builds became bigger, more complex, very custom. And again, I found myself getting burnt out, kind of trading time for money. And there's only 2 things you can do, because it's quite scary when you're a one-person operation, isn't it? You're quite scared to sometimes turn down work. And that's where I was at. I needed the money. I had to bring in that income. So I was scared to turn anything down. I was scared to outsource. I didn't really have the systems or the experience to streamline what I was going to do. So that's exactly what I'm going to talk to you today about, breaking that time for money kind of hamster wheel of just working, not turning things down, not streamlining, not being efficient, not outsourcing. So, and central to that is kind of our cloud journey, because I have been on quite the journey. I've gone from being someone who does one-to-one builds for clients to hiring help, to learning how to outsource, to learn how to be efficient, and then developing digital products. So firstly, as I said, I sold themes for Divi and several other more niche photography platforms. And then as time went on, as we became an agency and we were using our themes, I started to still get a bit frustrated. I was like, here I am doing another 2-column layout with an image on one side, and I'm tweaking it for mobile, and I feel like I ought to do this because it's a custom build. And I thought, you don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time, even if it's a custom build. So as a team, we began to, not even on using Kadence at this point, we were using a system called Page Builder Cloud, which is a plugin that I also co-own. So, I've so believed in the cloud that I actually bought into that company and still own part of that company. But when Kadence released its cloud, I was like, this is what we're going to go all in on, because this is the tool we're now building. We're all in on block-based themes. So as a team, we set out to make ourselves much more efficient, because this was like the final stumbling block. We'd already covered all of the onboarding, the client process efficiency, which I'm about to share with you, but this bit we hadn't cracked. So we made it our mission to start saving. Every time we did a project, we'd say, what here can be neutralized, can be saved and reused to make ourselves more efficient? And we got to the end of that process and we were like, I was showing it to designer friends of mine, and they were like, oh my God, can I get access to that? That's amazing. I was like, yeah, sure. Here's a key. We've built this, our own Kadence cloud. And that's how Star Cloud came about. There was quite a demand for it. And then it's become what it is today, which is kind of a much more mature product with, hundreds and hundreds of layouts and themes and what have you. But it did start from a need to just be more efficient within our business as a small agency. And in the process of building this cloud and also of refining our process as an agency, here are the 3 lessons that we're going to look at today that I've learnt, and finally took me long enough, but acted upon and developed this really, really slick process. So the first thing is automate every single repetitive process. I'm going to get into that in just a second. Number 2, do only what you do best and outsource the rest. And then have a pricing model that works for everyone, regardless of budget. So you never have to turn away work, but you don't feel that you're being taken advantage of. That's such a key thing to learn. And it can, I'll tell you now, it can take a while to build up your packages and your tools to enable you to do this. But when you do it, you'll find you become instantly more profitable. So let's get into it. So the first one, automate and document every single repetitive process. So the big one, which a lot of people get hung up on, is putting together client proposals, like spending ages making beautiful proposals and thinking, is this the right price? Have I got it right? Am I going to feel cheated or annoyed? You know, how am I going to deal with scope creep? All that kind of stuff. Then you've got to onboard them. So there's lots of things. We have a certain process we need people to understand. And of course, everyone's nemesis, content collection, which is quite frankly can absolutely derail a project, as we all know. I'll get into that in a second. The second thing is having your design base so you can eliminate repetitive design tasks. The next thing, which we think we do really differently to other people, is our very slick revisions and feedback process. And then a post-launch training and snagging and feedback system. This is also crucial to us being hands-off and putting a lot of responsibility on the client or clients to do this themselves. So we're going to spend most of our time on this part, and because I can't tell you, how important it is, can't tell you enough. So this was the point where last year I was like, but what tools are you using? Let's get into it. So it actually doesn't matter what tool it is, but we use something called Plutio. I have tried them all. I have tried Asana and ClickUp and you name it, I've tried it. So it doesn't really matter which one it is because they can all be set up like this. It can be Trello, what it needs to be is to have some kind of Kanban board system, which you can put in, you can make visual, put covers on, and you can put in an order that makes sense for your average user. So in the end, we went with Plutio, because it does everything. It does proposals, contracts, invoices, timesheets, like time tracking for the team. It also has conversations for messaging, and it has tasks and calendars. So it did everything we wanted to do, but also I just love the interface. It was super simple because we had been using other things like Basecamp and ClickUp, but clients were just trying to not use it. They were trying to circumvent the process. As soon as we started using Plutio, all of that kind of trying not to use it went away because it just looks so simple. When they first land in the portal, when we first invite them, they land on a landing page which has a video of me showing them how to use it. And once they click OK, it brings them to their project and they can see this laid out visually. Like it's so simple to understand: onboarding, homework, VIP day, website build, launch, handover, follow-up. It's so simple that visually they can see all they need to do is open every task. And once they've done it, check it off, or once we've done it, check it off. They can add tasks, we can add tasks, and everyone can add comments, and we can all kind of communicate. And this is really, really crucial if you have a team working on a project. So I did this because I had to basically get everything out of my head, because I went from being one designer to having 3 or 4 people working on a project at any one time. And all of those people had different things that they would do. So Tom would do the site setup, and Sarah would do the copy. So there were more than, when there was more than me involved, I had to get really organized. So yeah, so as I said, I'm not here to kind of push any particular tool. You guys have got to choose something that works for you, but this was the one for us that finally cracked it. And there's 2 tasks I'm just showing you here. The first one is we have an important links task, and in there where it says, you can see at the top where it says brand assets, copy and images, that is just an embedded Google Drive link. So they can click straight through to their Google Drive. They don't have to look for a separate link. We set it up always in the same way. That's all automated, by the way. When somebody books a new project and I change their project status to live, it creates all the folders in Google using what's that called, Zapier. So we've automated that, and it always looks the same. And inside each of those folders, there's a little instruction doc. So, but they don't have to go looking for it. There's also my permanent Zoom call link, and part of their onboarding in the video, I said, we're going to need your hosting details, blah, blah, blah. So they never need to look for anything. And we always say, this is the single source of truth. This is the Bible from which we all work. And if you don't use it, your project will take longer because there's more than just me working on this. On the other side, you've got a task which is open. It says complete your Pinterest homework. So we get them to mood board before we then go into our mood board part of the project. Not only is there's an embedded video, there is a little roundup, and there is a link to a blog post which explains it in more detail. So it's very rare. So when I do the onboarding call with clients, I show them this task. I don't then show them how to do the whole Pinterest mood board process. Why would I? I've already fully laid it out and documented. So if you imagine all the different touch points of onboarding, from completing their brand questionnaire to uploading their assets, it's all laid out for them to self-serve. And I can't tell you how much this changed my life. And these projects are also saved as templates inside Plutio. So when I've got kind of 4 or 5 different versions, if it's a brand only one or it's website and brand, I just select the correct template, it populates, and all I need to do is go and change a few dates. But generally everything is pretty much the same. Add the correct people to it, and, you know, away we go. So once, you know, part of this is also training people to respond in the way that works for you. So you can see I've circled there where it says conversations. I do say to them, and I kind of make a joke of it, but I always say, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm terrible at email. If you email me about something on the project, I'm not going to respond. I can only respond to messages in Plutio because there's not just me involved. I need everybody on the team to see what we're talking about. So it's with some clients, they'll be like, oh, they'll WhatsApp me or message me on Facebook. And I'm like, thanks so much. I'll reply in Plutio. And I just gently condition them to this is our only way of communicating, because I don't know about you, but when people are replying to stuff in email, it's a nightmare. You know, I need everybody to see what's being said. So part of this is, I even do this during the sales call. I'll say, we have this awesome project management system. It is part of how we'll manage to deliver your site in, you know, less than 30 days. It's because we use this. I think you're going to really enjoy using it. Here's a sneak peek. I'll sometimes show it to them. But I will also put it in the contract that they have to use this. So, you know, that selling process starts quite early on. So this is like the single source of truth for us. We love our little Plutio, and it means that you can have clients, you know, I've got the active ones pinned to the left-hand side there in that screenshot. So I can have I can access my kind of ones that are on the go at any one time. But, you know, you can archive projects, but often we use this as our work request thing as well, process too, which I'll come to in a second. Right, the other tool that we use is something called Markup. So if you've never used Markup, again, total game changer. You can get 5 sites for free, by the way, with a free Markup one. And during the design process, our key offer is that we are using Style Cloud and our themes as the base for nearly all builds, even the custom ones. So when we're brainstorming how they want things to look, we will we have it done. We will put our block library, which is here, we will put that site into Markup. So you can see in that screenshot, somebody has already left a comment saying, I like this one, or I'd like to achieve something similar to this. We let them go and brainstorm we normalize using the templates basically, and we sell it that way, by the way. Nobody's like, oh, I thought I was getting a custom site. Here's some blocks that I have to choose. That's part of our sales process. You know, we're very upfront about that. So we will do that, and we will let them get involved and feel like they have control over the process. And we will also, because we have kind of 14, 15 themes, we will also say, they will say, I feel most attracted to this theme. So I will sling that theme in to Markup, and I'll say, go through and tell me what inspires me about it. So they might leave some comments saying, don't like this, love this, or can we use this on another page? But what you can see, you can't really see there, but I've got copy prompts in there too. So even though we haven't built their site, and we might be doing a custom homepage, but what we do is they can then start entering their content straight away. So, you know, clients really struggle with visualizing how much copy they should have, or, you know, putting it into a Google Doc. They get kind of bogged down, but with it very visual. And also all of our themes are built for photographers. They have the right amount of text. You know, they're built for SEO, you know, so and there's also copy prompts in all of our themes. So they're very much led through that content process. And the other thing to say is when you get run into snags and projects get bogged down, and I coach a lot of web designers, they're like, oh, I've got 4 or 5 clients who just won't get me these final images, or won't do this, and I need the money. You know, I've got 50% project fee riding on completion. How can I move these people along? The answer is the process starts way, way, way before you actually start to work with them. So, and the key is selling it to them in a way where they think it is beneficial to them. I mean, finishing a project in 30 days is amazing, but if they're dragging their heels because you haven't communicated how the process works, then, you know, you will get bogged down. So I think it's a huge selling point. So during a sales call, I'll say, listen, we work quite differently to other agencies. This is our creative process, but also let me talk to you about how we can do this fast for you, because I know that you wanted a quick result. So I will outline the thing. I will say, these are the tools we use, and I will say to them, the thing that holds us up most often is if we don't have all of your content and your images before we start. So we generally have a 2 to 3 month waiting period, which is great because it gives them the time. And I sell that as a benefit. I say, and they'll say, well, I'm not ready yet. I said, that's okay. You've got 6 to 8 weeks to gather this together. We have this process. You'll be able to enter your copy here. You'll be able to upload your images here. And this is how you format them. And there's a recorded training, of course, there is for them to watch. But I present it very much as a benefit. And I do say to them, if we get to your start date and we don't have all of that, I'm afraid we will have to move you to the back of the queue. And, you know, that could be 2 or 3 months down the line. And I'd hate for that to happen to you. So I'm selling that in from the very beginning. And when we do the onboarding call, I'm like, okay, let me just go over the content and image collection process again, because I'd hate for you to have to be bumped to the back of the queue when we get, yeah, how do you feel about that? And also at this stage, I will say, do you have any doubts about being able to get your content together? If you do, would you like to book in with our copywriter, or would you like to book in with our VA who can help you curate your images, format them all? Would you like to book that service as well? Sometimes they will say, yes, I actually deep down know I'm not going to be able to get this done because I'm too busy. Sometimes they will say no, and I'll say, great. So as long as you're aware that you might lose your place in our design queue, that's okay, you know, but at any point, if you feel you're struggling, please reach out. So we're very, very clear about what the consequences of not being ready are. And in a loving way, by the way. It sounds like I'm like super tough, but I actually am really nice about it when we do this. Okay, so that's the kind of client onboarding process which I hope you can see is super hands-off. It puts a lot of the responsibility on them to watch trainings, deliver content, go and mark up the template with their copy, etc., and get things where they need to be, or they need to shout for help. So how the actual build process, how did we speed that up? So as I told you, we did set up a Kadence Cloud / pattern library. And if you don't have the full package from Kadence, which gives you your own cloud, you are 100% sleeping on that, because it is revolutionary. And, you know, if you've ever felt a bit sad when you've built a custom site thinking that was great, and, you know, I'd love to build a site like that again, it's kind of nice at the end of every custom project we go through and we pull out any little snippets you want to save to the cloud, because we know we're going to reuse them because they're like innovative. But also, you know, how many times can you reinvent the wheel? Like, how many times, different ways is there to do a contact page or whatever, or a footer? So, you know, definitely save your favorites. We also create customizer style kits. I'll show you one in a second. So our standard customizer settings for different scenarios, we export those. And if you've got the Kadence Starter templates plugin, you can export your customizer and import it. So we have them all neatly organized in our Google Drive for everybody to grab a customizer style kit that's going to speed things up. We've also got a number of starter sites. We'll go into that in a second. And we have a really slick kind of deployment staging process. So let's break this down a bit. So one of the keys to this is making sure your cloud is really neutral. So if you just sling a load of stuff into your cloud, what will happen is then you go to use it on another project and you haven't kind of neutralized it or decluttered it or changed some of the settings, you'll get fed up with it and you'll think, oh, it's more trouble than it's worth. I'm not going to bother doing that. So now, obviously, this is a product we sell, access to this cloud. So we're religious about every single block that ever goes in there. We make sure it's got identical margin, identical padding, that if we've chosen a font in a block, we make sure we reset that so it's inheriting from the customizer. We will go and unset button styles. So we want this to be as neutral as possible so that when these layouts drop into a client site or one of our customers drops it into their site, it just takes on their fonts and their colors and is automatically styled by the customizer settings. So if you just take that time to kind of strip back and neutralize your blocks and look at any, you know, problems that there might be if you're going to reuse it, honestly, you'll start to fall in love with the whole process. So yeah, as I said, we export customizer setups, and those files you get are DAT files, and they just import and export them. We also export, if you go to the tools export kind of WordPress feature, you can export Kadence elements, and we often will do like an incredible custom single blog post layout, or we build quite a lot of directories. So we'll do like wedding venue directories and things like that. I often save those with all the advanced custom fields all set up. And you can, of course, well, I'll talk to you about a second. You can, of course, install those in your master cloud site. So you can just export them whenever you want. But most often we will copy and paste them across. If you've never done this, I don't know if you know this, because I didn't know it for ages. If you've got one Kadence site open in one browser and another Kadence site open in another browser or tab, you can copy and paste blocks between the two. So in our fantastic super duper cloud site where everything is hosted, we can open up a Kadence element and we can have our target one open, a client site that we're working on, just copy and paste the whole thing across. And we just need to tweak a couple of settings into where it will display, and we're done. So all of those things, all of those elements, we also have on tap ready to copy and paste. And I've really got into using it's fairly recent, the Kadence Advanced Queries and Query Cards feature, because you have to create a different one for each instance that you want to use it. That is another thing that you can export and import. So it takes me ages sometimes setting up quite complicated query cards for things like directories. So I'm sure as hell want to save those and reuse them. So yeah, so you can use your cloud site where everything is hosted. You do need like a separate subdomain or something to host your cloud site if you have the full Kadence package. But you can store a whole load more useful stuff in there that you can copy and paste as well. So that's setting up your neutral cloud. The other thing is, another one I find a brick wall when it comes to client work is people who say they've got branding, but actually they've just got a logo and maybe a color, and they've got some fonts, but they're different sizes. They don't have a font hierarchy or a type hierarchy. So for those people, we have all of our customizer style kits with recommended colors and fonts laid out like this inside each of our demo sites. So we tell them, go and have a browse through and have a look at which kind of style kit you feel will suit your brand the most. See if you like the fonts, see what you think. Sometimes they'll say, oh my God, this one is just what I'm looking for. Let's go with that. And what I then say is what you see on the right here is a brand guide. Now it's part of my training inside their Plutio portal. It will say, if you have a brand guide, upload it here. If you don't, please take a copy of this template on Canva and complete it, because we just want to be sure. And we will not, sometimes we include this, by the way. They might say, can you do it? And we'll say, sure. And we that's a package we offer and it's chargeable, but we don't start the build until we have this brand guide at the very least, and we know all of their colors. And so this just gives them a very quick route to, we know that our style kits work. We know they're harmonious. We know they all work together. We also need the brand guide to be sure. And it's a much longer document, by the way. And if anybody wants a copy of it, I will get that to you in some way or other. But yeah, you can. In fact, I tell you where you can get it from. We have a Learn Kadence course, and it's just on our website. And inside there is a whole section on doing your own branding guide and a link to this template, so you can grab it from there. Yeah, so we don't start building unless we know all the different components we're going to be working with, and we do push them to start thinking about this very early on. This happens during the onboarding call. In fact, during the sales call, I'll normally have sussed out what kind of level of brand, how organized they are about their branding. Okay, so we've got our fantastic neutral cloud. We've got some customizer style kits. They're going to do a brand guide. They're working through all their lovely tasks in Plutio. And when we come to the build, we also have some starter sites. So we have a master WordPress install with all our preferred plugins and customizer settings. We have a very nice neutral customizer setup as well. Plus we have 3 more templates with various configurations. We have a WooCommerce one. We have a LearnDash/Lifter LMS one. We have one that's more for photographers. And they already have our Style Cloud connection in place, and we use InstaWP for this. So we can quickly spin up, take a clone version of it and spin it up onto our server. You can also use BlogVault. If you use that for backups, that allows you to take a copy, to migrate a copy straight into your development server. Or what we often do is a lot of our photographers come to us with a lot of content. So we're normally creating a staging site. We will just we will go into one of these, and we will just upload it as a theme. So if you've got the full package from Kadence, it's got a child theme packager. You can package up a mini child theme and then just drop it into their staging site, so you don't lose any of their content, but you can quickly apply your settings. So depending on the project, we'll either deploy an instance from InstaWP or we'll upload a child theme, which is quite neutral. So either way, having those starter sites ready to go is awesome. The other thing we have a couple of our templates on InstaWP, which allow them to spin up a copy and log in, and it has a video which shows them, and you're going to get access to this, what to do to try one of our demo sites to see if they like the Kadence interface. Some people don't, and but we give them a chance to get their hands dirty and try it. So it can be really good as a kind of sales tool. I will often say during a sales call, hey, let's spin up a site right now. I will do a little demo. I'll say, you've got access to this for 8 hours. Go away and have a play and see how you like it. And people are normally absolutely sold by that. And it has our cloud connections. They can just play around and they start to think, actually, this is cool. I get access to all these themes. I get access to this cloud. The interface seems really straightforward. it's a brilliant sales tool. So that's InstaWP. Okay, so now another stage of the process where people run into massive kind of roadblocks. So I've already talked about how much I like markup for collecting copy. Obviously, its main purpose is in the middle of a build, clients can go through and just write comments saying, I don't change this image or change this to this, so I don't like the way this looks on mobile. You can actually toggle between tablet, mobile, desktop in markup, so they can leave different comments depending on the viewport rather. Now, this next one is a little bit controversial. I would say to you, rather than so what we do is we say, put all your feedback on markup, and I will go through and do the easy wins and tick them off. Done, done, done. It's normally things like change this heading to say this instead of this. But when it's something subjective, like I don't know how I feel about this, I feel like this is too dark, or this doesn't look right, I will leave a note saying bookmark for live design. So when we will then jump at a call. I will literally make the changes with them watching me. Now, it's not for the faint-hearted. I actually do, as part of my branding process and as part of our custom design service, I will design their brand right in front of them. It takes 2 or 3 hours, but the bones of it, and I will live design their homepage in Figma, or Illustrator, depending on the project. So, it's not for the faint-hearted, but at the very least, if the thought of that fills you with horror, that's cool. But what I'd highly recommend is doing live revisions with you making the changes in the website, so they can instantly sign them off. So then you can go back into markup and go done, done, done. And it just eliminates that back and forth. Like they say, I don't like this. You're like, well, how about this? Takes another day for them to go, yeah, I'm not sure. So I'm still not sure. 5 days later, you still haven't kind of solve this one point that you're not sure about. So save them all up, knock them down, you'll knock them dead in half an hour. And people are actually really impressed, because we forget how impressive it is when people are using the back end of WordPress and working on the page and doing it super fast. It's really, really impressive. I also will, if we are waiting for I've said we always get all the content up front, but sometimes we decide to do an extra page and we need that content, or when maybe they're having some new headshots done and we're waiting for that. You can automate tasks in Plutio with reminders to nag them, so that those reminders won't go away until they tick them off till it's done. So I also, if it's something that's going to hold up the project, I will automate the reminders. I'm relentless, but in a nice, friendly way. So revisions and feedback automated. Then launch and training. So again, this is where you can run into a real-time suck where you think a project's finished and it just keeps coming back to haunt you, because that's what happens. So I always assume there's going to be snagging to do and little things that we haven't thought of. So firstly, I have created a ton of self-serve training resources, like how to update your plugins, how to back up your website, and they have to work through those. And also, if they're not going to take a maintenance plan, they have to sign something to say they understand they are responsible for backups and updates, etc., etc. Sorry, I've written that twice. I'll talk about the work request process in a second. I make a post-launch snagging appointment. I know there's going to be things. So a bit like the live design revisions, for about 5 days after launch, I say, let's get a date in the diary now, because there's always a few things that we're going to need to snag. And also I'm going to want to check that they have indeed gone, and normally I'll have done it. But if they're like, oh, I'll resubmit my site to Google, no problem, I like to check it's done. So I just put that in the diary, and I allow an hour for that, for any kind of snagging. It also stops them that kind of can you just, and on that kind of snagging appointment task, that's where we have a little checklist where we can all of us put tasks to check, and I'll say, check on your Google's search console. They might say, looks weird on mobile. So we then work through all of those. And if it's not on the list, it doesn't get done. Another thing I would recommend is, if you don't do this already, I will sometimes say to people, would you like to pre-book a block of, say, 6 hours of time, because you're bound to have extra requests like extra pages or, special templates for your blog posts, etc. If you pre-book or prepay for a block of time, that puts you on my VIP list, which means that every Friday morning I will sit down and do any updates or any work that you need, or the team will. So they can go on the VIP list by pre-booking some. This is if they don't, you might have different maintenance packages, but if you don't offer that, pre-booking blocks of time is a great way for, again, and if you have to kind of pre-sell the concept, all of your updates are done on a Friday. You need to have a task where you request that work to be done. So once they've finished their project, we then put a different board up for them to use, and it has another Kanban board with new work requests, and that's what happens on a Friday, then in progress, and then done and ready for them to sign off. If they don't enter it onto that board, the work doesn't get done. So, but as they've already worked through our system and they understand how we use the system, they just use it and they love it. My other best favorite thing at the moment is then once I sign off, once their project is signed off, they in an automated way, I use a piece of software. I use ActiveCampaign for our kind of CRM. So once they finish, they get tagged in ActiveCampaign, and that sets off about a month later. They get an email asking them for a testimonial. And I use something called Senja. And this is just literally an embedded piece of code from the Senja testimonial collection thing. This is what it looks like. I've chosen the colors, but this just updates itself. Like when I get new testimonials, I just go approve, 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 and then they appear here. It's so slick. So it's just another thing I don't have to physically go and do myself. It just, collecting testimonials, typing them out the site, copying and pasting, all done. It just completely eliminated. So I think that's one of my favorite purchases in the last year. I'm not affiliated with any of these things. These are just tools I absolutely love. Okay, so that's a lot of the process stuff. Let's move on to the kind of the model of, so you've got your really slick client management systems, you've got your design tools, your cloud, your starter sites, all of that. How do we then start to outsource the things you don't like doing so you can take on more projects and be more profitable? And how do you have a pricing model that works for everyone regardless of budget, so you're not turning people away? I'm going to deal with these two things at once because they're the same side of the coin. So let's just talk about your offer. And you may have seen this before from me, but I want to really, if you haven't, I want to just cover it briefly. So this is our model. It might not work for everyone, but obviously we sell templates / cloud access. So we have a DIY revenue stream. In the middle, we have customizing those products for people. And then at the high end, we have original custom design, which is, a lot of dollars. So your people or our people will land anywhere along that. And we have packages to suit that. So yeah, they might subscribe to Style Cloud. They don't quite want semi-custom, but we have a package called VIP, which is a half day. It's like $600, where they get 3 or 4 hours of our time and they can use it for training, or we tidy up their site. And then we have other packages which land somewhere along that kind of scale. But I'm sure you won't be surprised to know that we kind of price to the middle, a bit like everybody in Starbucks gets the middle size. Nobody gets the massive tall venti or whatever it's called. So semi-custom is our most commonly chosen package, and it's our most profitable, okay? Because it's quick. And this is something I realized that I love. The thing that I'm good at is original design. Like I love doing people's homepages. And I'm really good at that process. I do it live in front of people, as I said, not for the faint-hearted, but it's the thing I love. So I'm quite comfortable with it. And we do this VIP design session, and I do the live design of their homepage on paper. And as part of the onboarding, we'll have also chosen their starter site or cloud layouts. And then I hand that off to the team. So they often build that. The inner pages all come from the template or from the cloud. So they complete that. Because I don't love kind of formatting FAQ pages or contact pages. It's not what I'm best at. Like I'm really good at the original creative stuff. And actually some of the people on my team really don't like the original creative stuff, but they love doing the inner pages. So it works for everybody. And, one of my team members said, I just love it when I get a new project because it's a bit like doing a jigsaw puzzle. I find it really soothing. All I have to do is, match the colors from the brand guide, style it all, make sure it looks nice, upload their content. She said, I just find it really soothing. So if you find the right people who love what you don't, and they don't love what you are amazing at, you get to just show up and shine and be, do what you are best at, and you can outsource the rest. And then of course, Plutio kicks in with our quality control, our snagging, our training launch, and we give them some fun things when they launch. We've got all these social templates in Canva for them to drop their screenshots in and share it on social media. Sometimes I'll make them a little story thing which we share on our social media. So we get to have fun in the process. So that's our semi-custom process and our most profitable package. And you can see, like, here's just a couple of examples of, there's the template on the left that we started with. There's the kind of semi-custom with the custom homepage on the right, you know, but you can see the similarities. Actually, the one on the right wasn't a semi-custom, it was maybe just a template customization. But either way, we are using all of our tools to accelerate these builds. Now, why is this scalable? Obviously, I've just said show up and do what you're best at, but also it allows you to maintain design standards even when you're delegating, because you are doing the bit that really matters, the homepage, the creative. You are bringing your talent where it works. You can achieve excellent profit margins, about 50%, but also when you have, like, you might not have templates in the cloud you can sell, but what you can do is develop your own resources, starter sites, some demo sites, a mini cloud, which you can show people and say, we're going to use my starter resources to make your build go more quickly and make it more affordable for you. So it means that you can work with anyone, whatever their budget is. You could even say, look, here's one of our demo sites. We will do your homepage together, but then, you know, I've got some training that I've made so you can carry on and finish the project yourself. You can develop your own model of from DIY right up to fully custom and decide how that's going to work for you. But I promise you it will significantly accelerate your builds, and it means you can just outsource the things that, you know, you don't like doing. I'll just talk real numbers. I showed this slide last year and everyone was like, what? That's crazy. So if I didn't have too many things in my life, like owning plugins and having a marketing membership where I coach people, if I was just me on my own in my business, I reckon I could do 4 semi-custom builds a month. Okay, so that's designing one homepage per week on paper. I then hand that off to the team. Total revenue 16K. We pay 2K, so our 2K per build to the team member. Outsource costs 8K, so that would leave me with 8K profit after costs. That's whether that's a margin of 50% at the end of the month. Now, if we add upgrades, maintenance and hosting, maybe you've got some other revenue streams like template sales, that's a pretty, you know, you're looking at 10K months. And, you know, and that for me is a really happy place to be. A 10K month is, you know, achievable. But what I hope you see from this system is you're not turning away any business because they can work with you at any level. Some additional revenue ideas, you could sell, make cloud access to your own little cloud. You don't have to go out and publicly sell it, but you can sell access. You can show people. I do this when I do the handover. I say, hey, let me give you a tour of your site. This is how this works. Oh, here's our cloud. And I show them our cloud. It's very impressive. And they will say, oh, that's amazing. Like, well, if you'd like to have access, just go and get your subscription over at Style Cloud, and then you can continue to access this to build out more pages, etc. You could sell child themes like we do. As I've already mentioned, sell maintenance or blocks of time, update blocks. Another idea, which I think I haven't really, you know, it's kind of been percolating in my mind, but if with something like InstaWP, where you can spin up copies of sites, I'm really interested in the model. I haven't tested it myself, but I know some people who do this really successfully, is to sell turnkey subscription sites with hosting. So you charge them one amount per month, no upfront design costs, but it's like a couple of $100 a month, and you know, you have all your templates ready to spin up. So that's a model that's worth investigating as well. And then the other thing that I always do is selling the next step after the launch. So when people are going to have their website built, I always say, like, it reminds me of kind of, you know, I've got 2 kids, and I remember when I was having my kids, I was like, totally, all I could really focus on was the fact that I was going to have a baby. I wasn't really interested in how to look after it or how to give a baby a bath. I was like not listening. I was like, la, 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 just not at all interested. And I've noticed that people are a bit like that when it comes to building their website. They're like, it's so pretty. And they're very focused on the website. So even if you try and tell them in 6 months' time, we're going to need to have a pillar content strategy for your blog, or we're going to build a sales page and a marketing funnel, they're just not ready to hear that. So what I do in my proposal that they see in Plutio, which by the way, we don't do fancy PDF proposals. We have quite a nicely formatted proposal in Plutio, and I make a little video talking them through it, so it feels very bespoke. But what I'm not doing is doing fancy PDFs. But in that proposal down the bottom, I will always put what the next step is as an additional add-on, like copywriting, marketing funnel setup, blogging strategy, whatever it is that we want to plant the seed. I know that they're not ready to hear it now, and I always put optional. They're like, oh, what is that? And I said, well, a lot of people go on to book this. I just want it to be in the back of your mind because I suspect you're going to want this in about 6 months' time. They're like, oh, cool, right, good to know. I won't take it now. But then about 3 months later, I will always go back and say, hey, do you remember we talked about this? And I noticed the other day you left me a message asking this question. Do you want to have a chat about how we could achieve that? Because do you remember we talked about your blogging strategy at the proposal stage? And oh, yeah, let's talk about that. Yeah, get me booked in. So if you've planted the seed quite early on at the proposal stage, now is the time after you've launched to go back and sell them whatever that next step is, whatever is in your wheelhouse, whatever your special skill is, whether it's SEO or whatever. Right, that was a lot, I know. So just a quick roundup of all the things I've mentioned. Obviously, Style Cloud, and obviously that's my company, so I do have vested interest in telling you about that. Plutio.com is what we use, but anything with a Kanban board will work. Markup.io, you get 5 slots for free, worth a try if you're not using this for clients. I predict you'll love it. And Senja.io is what I capture testimonials with on an automated basis. So I have got this ready for you to take a copy at stylecloud.co/amplify. If you want to kind of get a bit more involved with us, Style Cloud itself has, this huge library and the themes, but we have what we think it's a really good training course. It covers every aspect of building your site, from how to choose hosting to how to prepare a brand guide, right through to every detail of how to use Kadence, every block, right through to kind of advanced Kadence. Plus we have some fun projects as well, which you can take on, things like some basic CSS projects or animations that you can create. So it's completely free. You'll find a link to it if you go to /amplify. And I also go live every single Wednesday inside our free Facebook community. Just do a website clinic. We kind of nerd out about WordPress and Kadence. If you've got a problem, you can bring it along. If you want to talk about web design, cool. If you want to talk about your business, we just have a really good time. And that's completely free. It's open to everyone. So if you've got questions about anything you've heard today and want to talk about it, come and meet me. I'm there every Wednesday at 2 p.m. UK, just hanging out with all my Kadence buddies. And I'd love to see you there. Right. Yeah, so that's the end of the official formal part of my presentation. And I don't know whether we've got any questions.
Yeah, so that was fantastic. Wow, that's a lot of information in a very short period of time. And I was taking notes, and I'm really glad that you've got the presentation online. I did share it in the chat as well, the link to your site with /amplify at the end. We have a couple comments, and then I have written down a few questions as well. So Jake Hawk says he's a Style Cloud customer, and he really subscribes to learn what is about to drop and suggest that people should do that. So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Red Kit Design says loves the idea of live revisions. When I was thinking, oh my goodness, that sounds almost a little bit scary if you're not like really confident about doing it, right? And then Katie Boykin said, what was the name of the testimonial tool called that you mentioned?
Okay, yeah, so that was Senja, senja.io. It's owned by a fantastic guy. When you first join, he will literally invite you to a call, like the CEO will invite you to a call just to talk about your business. He's super hands-on. And I love supporting other kind of business owners as well. And the thing about the live revisions, by the way, is you don't have to do it live, but what you can do is just go through your markup and talk through any of the thorny little things that are snagging everybody and say, right, I'm clear on what you want now. I'll go away and do that and let you know when it's done. I'm going to do it right now. So you literally can do it then. And they'll say, great, I'll keep an eye out for the notification from markup. Then I will give you the thumbs up or the thumbs down. So you don't have to do it. You don't have to do it live, but I like to get it done. Like I like to move our project along fast.
I understand that for sure. I also like that you said you do the updates. I'm reading my notes. Updates and new work requests on Fridays, which, everybody always says never launch on Friday. And I know you're not necessarily launching on Fridays, but it just feels like, oh, but what if something breaks? And I'm guessing you don't have a lot of difficulty with that then.
Oh, well, we don't actually offer maintenance plans. So we're not updating people's like WordPress or anything like that. It's doing maintenance is not our bag. It's more like, oh, can you add an extra page, or can I, like, it's not going to be something that's going to break. It's more like, yeah. And it's so nice. Like it stops people from going, oh, can you just, it's a 2-minute job. Can you just, like, yep, on Friday. Yep, on Friday.
Perfect.
And if it's not on the work request list, it's not getting done on the Friday.
Yeah, I can understand that for sure. I also like how you pre-book blocks for VIP, blocks of time and things like that. That's brilliant. And I think the way that you've designed things really keeps your calendar under control. which also follows something else you did, communication control. Back in my freelancing days, that drove me crazy because people would text me, they'd call me, they'd email me, they would message me through social media. And I was like, so many places to try to keep communication. I love that you just had like, hey, we'll go back to Plutio and answer that there. So that's brilliant.
Yeah, and you know, I've been kind of making jokes about it that I'm a tough cookie, but it's because I'm such a walkover that I had to develop these giving away the farm and just letting people walk all over me. So you know, it just over time evolved into a system where I'm firm but fair, and
I think that's great.
And I sell that to them as a bonus. Yeah.
That's perfect. So I have 2 questions for you. I know that you're not doing maintenance plans, but when you are working on a website and turning it over to a customer, how do you protect a website from its owner? Because I do know that sometimes that is they're their worst enemies sometimes with their own websites. Do you put them through a class? Do you tell them, like, you know, like Simba, this is where we never walk, those kinds of things?
Well, we're lucky that we have our Learn Kadence course. So I will direct them to the post-launch section of the course and say, I'd highly recommend that you watch through these few videos. I will also say, we're very big. I'm really big on empowering people to be able to manage their own website. So we don't protect it from anyone, but in those training videos, it tells them what they should and shouldn't touch. But what I say to them is, don't be afraid to play. Have a page in the back of your website called test that is never in the menu. It's not indexed. We'll play to your heart's content. What you can do is go and take a copy of the blocks from your about page and stick it on your test page. And if you break it or you kill it, no biggie. But you know, you don't have to design on a live page. You can just have a play area. Go and test every Kadence block that there is. Add them to the page, see what happens. Pull stuff down from our cloud, see whether you like it. So we do encourage them to have like kind of a sandbox approach to their own website.
I love that. And then my last question for you is, what questions do you get most often when you're coaching or onboarding a new customer?
Oh, that's such a good question. How long will it take?
But, that's true. Can you make the logo bigger? That's no.
Yeah. I think it's more, people say to me, which is extraordinary because nearly all of our customers are photographers, and they will say, I'm not very techie. I don't know how I feel about WordPress, or I've had WordPress for ages, but I don't really know how to use it. And I'm like, you can literally operate a really complex £5,000 piece of equipment and take those images into Photoshop. You are capable of editing your own site. And I say, I will empower you to this. So that's why we often use those sandbox sites in InstaWP for them to, I say, go and break one of those, play with it, and build up your confidence. Then when it comes time to hand over your site and do some live training, you won't be going in cold. You'll have had some, and we have some warm-up exercises to do inside our course. I'll say, go and do this lesson, which challenges them. This is how you add in sections. This is how you break down copy into bite-sized chunks. Go and have a play with some of the challenges inside the course and build up your confidence. And normally that's enough.
I love that. Lastly, I'm just going to read to you some of the feedback at the end here. So Steve, I don't know how to pronounce Steven's last name. There was so much here that was great advice. Vivian says, this is right in line with where we are trying to take our agency. Thank you. Red Kit Design says, thank you so much. This was great. John Broderick, great presentation. Thank you, Melissa. Well done. Mike Kindle says, inspiring, loads of ideas from this. Thank you. And Jake says, my favorite lead in is, this is a little task, but can you?
Yeah. Can you just?
Well, I used to say that just and only were two of my biggest feared words when I was designing sites for others.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you are trying to grow your design business, please come and see me on a Wednesday during our live sessions. We love to hang out with other web designers and just nerd out and try and solve operational problems.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Melissa, so much for sharing today. Appreciate everything that you said and shared with us. And again, those will be available. This whole session, all of our sessions today will be available on our YouTube channel in just a week or two when we have a chance to repackage them. So thank you. And really enjoyed meeting you as well. So we'll see you soon.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you.